See, I had this childhood friend. I guess you can call him imaginary. His family welcomed me in with open arms, so faithful. We've been holding it down for a little over 2 decades, never betrayed, but always comforted. I was a sucker for his charm and all he did because I was really a sucker for attention. We were so tight. We didn't just have a soul but a spiritual tie. And when folk tried to slip in and break up what we had, he will always unveil how what they spoke of was considered as a lie. See, we tend to believe the folk that stuck with us the longest. They're known as the loyalists, right? Wrong. But did you ever question why I chose to believe imaginary over reality? My realization of a real world really pointed out my flaws, resulting in me connecting with the in-laws. See, truth be told, my marriage to depression was in the making. Because a single parent of rejection took a liking to me from birth. It's almost like her plan was vividly rehearsed. She played it close and helped nurture me. I guess you can call it a next-door neighbor. She paired me with her son because she felt happiness would never be my portion. And I struggled with my identity from that moment, all because of that spiritual adoption. I never understood all my life why I fought men into treating me like his mother, because I was enticed by that spirit called rejection. So depression always acted as my priest, covering me from that thief that tried to introduce me to joy and peace. My mind was constantly in a battle of who I am and what I should be, with what can potentially be freedom, with how I am accustomed to feel. See, even my feelings were based off of lies, but I was too deep in it. It was hard to justify. See, the scales are now being removed that loyalty was only loyal to being a stronghold over my life. Can you now imagine the confusion because I am now believing that my identity was influenced by a generational delusion? Indeed, a disastrous marriage that fought fearlessly against God's covenant, a covenant I was never introduced to. For that strength depression carried had me weighed down unknowingly, the last thing I desired from a husband. Finding it hard to reproduce because he cursed everything I tried to touch, withering me in every season when I should be blossoming, thus feeding my mind with poverty mindset, struggling to adjust to a healthier lifestyle. But my lifestyle was governed by a controlling figure that dominated everything I do. Even he was insecure because he never trusted me going out on my own. I now have to readjust a pattern of what life used to look like. Burdens and baggage that I claimed from the lost and found checkpoint. Cause clearly the enemy fed on isolation by being lost, so he found a mate that was suitable to keep me company. Forget about the vows of for better, for it was always worse. My pain and seclusion intensified to the point where I was no longer just receiving but dispersing hurt. I began to imitate my surroundings. Submission came easy, for my mission was to kill everything and everyone that appeared to look like life to me. Death was my norm, and unwillingly I chose to succumb to its ways. After all, divorcing after 20 plus years was nowhere in the planning stages. For this spirit made a covenant with me by force. I was bullied into a soul tie so it can prove it have control, manipulating me into calling it Lord. In its most sickening form, it became my form of entertainment whenever I became bored. Idolizing its presence was the gateway into him tricking me into marriage, because that's how he defined 2 people should court. I know we don't have to wait for years to plan a family reunion, because many of you under the sound of my voice are now struggling with confusion. You didn't really know what was wrong with you, because no one was able to draw a proper conclusion. But the fact that my marriage is now on the rocks, you're realizing you two were bound. Time to face the truth. No more substitution. Depression tends to hold you down mentally, and reality is, it has more force than physically. The word says, as a man thinketh, so is he. But I struggle with my thoughts, and the battle is constantly raging in my mind. Spirit and flesh constantly at war, so on the regular it feels as if I'm going out of my mind. And as I hear gunshots in my spiritual air fired off, I never paid attention to all the things that acted as my triggers to set it off. Now I constantly found myself in tears, feeling helpless. For nobody knows how to treat this disease, and the prayers don't feel like it's helping. Truth be told, laying hands on yourself won't bring you total deliverance. You have to purposely align your thoughts to God's word, making daily declarations. This is something you have to be intentional about. This is the reason why I'm venting, because this has always been my form of healing. And the more I express my hatred for the spirit, the closer I'm getting to my freedom. You too can free yourself. You just have to start speaking. Call your true identity forth. It's time to start retrieving. Look depression directly in the eye and tell it bye-bye. I'm leaving this disastrous marriage.